Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the In the Mixer podcast. My name is Phil. Thank you for being with us and listening to our football rundown of the weekend. And I am here with the usual guest people, Michael and Elias. Say hello, gentlemen.
I prefer
Hello.
co-host.
Yeah, guests.
Yes.
You see, like we're some sort of we just turned up and happened to be on the microphone with you.
Well,
Yeah, for several weeks.
Come on, we do better analysis than you.
as soon as Phil Neville becomes available, one of you are out. I'm sorry, but
Okay then.
we need big names to draw the viewership higher. So how are you two today after your,
Could be better. I mean, we
Have
lost.
I just spoiled your mood?
Well, no, not really. I mean, things for Birmingham have been interesting, and Schalke won. So there's my weekend, and we're doing the podcast a day late. So apologise those that are having to listen to us outside of their usual schedule.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have to say that. I probably could have got up tonight and no one would have been the wiser, but
Now, well, you're probably not going.
a little view behind the curtain, listeners. What about you, Elias? Considering our moods tend to be based around our football team's achievements, how are you feeling?
Meh.
Sounds about right. I'm also meh. We're all pretty meh.
You should be worse than Meh.
I'm meh. I drew nil-nil.
I'm meh.
No,
I'm meh. I
okay,
look in the mirror in the
well,
morning and think, meh. So I'll wake up.
Right.
Yep.
Get on with the football.
Football happened. Lots of football happened. Lots of goals happened in some games, not others. We're going to start with the highest scoring team of the weekend, Manchester City, who absolutely derailed Watford and their Champions League ambitions. A 6-0 win then for Manchester City away from home. Me personally, this podcast has been quite high on Watford's start to the season, but absolutely smashed by Man City. Any thoughts, guys? Because we obviously know Manchester City's attacking talents. But yeah, I wonder if either of you saw anything else in this game that gave you a difference of opinion on Man City as we've usually said.
Not a different opinion than a thrashing.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, did you see anything from Man City that changed your view on them, or is it just same old City like it was against Liverpool sort of thing?
I just feel like if they can just keep this up, they'll be the title-winning team that we predicted at the beginning of the season. Like, they're starting to actually wake up from their little I don't know if you can call it a form thingy, but
A sleeping giant.
Yeah, exactly. And if they just keep going and just continues to score these 4, 5, 6 goals each game, they'll be unstoppable.
Yeah, and they've got Palace next game, I think, next week, which is like another opportunity for them to turn over a weaker opposition. And the longer they can keep this huge scoring run going, like Elias said, it's sort of the more confident they'll get in attacking, and they're not actually conceding with it as well, which is one thing we said how good City's attacking force is, but we touched on defensively they're not always so solid, but they're thrashing teams and not conceding as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can really keep this up.
Watford did have chances though, but obviously consolidative chances. They wouldn't have actually got anything out of this game at any point. But Watford were missing Kabul Britos and Kiko, the right back, as well. So obviously not their full strength side. But I mean, when Man City are playing like that, it looks impossible for anyone to stop them. And Aguero specifically, who scored a fabulous hat trick, has to be said.
Yeah, and it wasn't like you highlight Aguero as obviously a standout player, but City do play really well as a squad, which I think Pep's obviously been going for, trying to get together, trying to get a team that plays really well as a team together as a unique package that sort of comes as one, and they're starting to turn into it. There was obviously when they were in this little slump, they were winning games still, but it was like an individual standout moment, or sort of just one of these opportunities where they do a really good team move in the game. But it seems to be like a really well drilled thing now, where these consistently really intricate passes and things like that are happening throughout the game, which is it just takes one for there to be a goal, and then obviously Watford with players missing rolled over by 6.
Elias, did you have a favourite goal in this? There's plenty to choose from.
And don't really know about a favorite goal. I just saw some nice goals from Aguero, and yeah, he's like one of my favorite players to watch when he's actually in form. So one of his goals definitely, but I can't point down one.
Yeah, it was the second one where I think we ran through like Watford's entire defence, and it was like a GIF version of Maradona or something. It was really good.
Yeah, Sorry. I think we said a couple of weeks ago, is Aguero like? I think it was when he gifted the chance to Jesus. We were sort of saying, yeah, is Aguero like losing his touch? But come on, like from what we saw, Aguero still got that such low centre of gravity, coupled with like excellent strength and like huge turn of pace. It's not missing. It really isn't.
It's also like a Watford side that's been playing like really good at the beginning of the season. So that's like, if you saw City versus Watford last season, you'd probably think that was going to be an easy win for City. I wasn't convinced that it was going to be this match, but of course they proved me wrong.
City, of course, started the season really well last year. Had some fantastic attacking displays, but it was around sort of Christmas time, I think, where they sort of let their foot off the gas. I mean, there's no signs of that at the moment, and with Gundogan returning, their squad only seems to be getting stronger and stronger. And Bernardo Silva, who played brilliantly against Feyenoord, didn't even get in the team for this game. So yeah, Man City looking even stronger. Did you see the penalty incident where Sterling won the penalty, really wanted to take it, and I think Guardiola told him not to or something? That was interesting. But he's had a very good start to the season, Sterling, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Now he's back from his suspension as well. For his silly red card against Bournemouth. We'll move from one side of Manchester then to the other. That's a transition I do way too much and need to not do. It's just there.
Yeah, you were really over. They even use it in like Match of the Day and everything.
Okay.
So.
From one smashing to another, not to be outdone, Manchester United decided to rout over Everton. 4-0 this one, and worrying signs for Everton, because that is I think that's their 10th goal conceded against the top six this season, and only their 4th time against them. So they look in trouble and don't look like they're going to hit their goal of breaking into that top 6 or possibly top 4, which is what we all assumed they were going for, considering how much money they spent. Did you want to talk about Everton first here, or did you want to wax lyrical about Manchester United? I'll go to you first, Elias.
I just gonna agree with you that Everton's season is starting really roughly. They lost in the Europa League against Atalanta 3-0 as well. So that hasn't really boosted their confidence. And the last goal they scored was against Hajduk Split when they beat them in the last playoff round of the Europa League. So I don't know when it's going to click for Everton, if it's ever going to just do it. So.
Yeah, they spent all this money, but they didn't seem... I mean, Sandro Ramirez is a good player, scored a lot of goals last season for Malaga, I think it was. And he hasn't seemed to hit... Obviously, he got a little injury, but he hasn't seemed to look like that goal-scoring threat. And Rooney started the season well, but he's dropped off a little bit now as well. So you do wonder when them goals are going to come from, when they've bought all these players to try and share the goals around. But no one looks particularly deadly. I think Sigurdsson had a really good chance, but by that point, I'm pretty sure the game was already gone. So it is hard to see where Everton are gonna start to gel, and when they do get out of this rough patch of fixtures, perhaps we'll see them excel and start to blend together as a squad and start rolling teams over, maybe. But at this point, you find it really hard to see that actually on the horizon.
Yeah, I think I had quite a few points to make about this game. I think last week I touched on the fact that Everton to break into top 4 would have to beat some of the top teams in order to sort of show that they're a serious threat. But they mainly should just beat the teams below them, and Manchester United obviously aren't going to be a team that's going to be below them. Maybe getting these really, because they've played 4 of the top 4 teams at the start of the season. Now, maybe playing the teams now is not all of a bad thing, because the squad can obviously gel in these games and then turn over, hopefully, the teams that they'd be expected to beat if it's sort of too late and it's sort of going to be a dampener to confidence is like a different thought maybe, but like it is obviously really early in the season and it's going to be a huge dampener to their chances of getting like top 6, top 4. But I don't know, maybe it's just that those top 4 teams are really far ahead of them because they have such well drilled squads. Their squad isn't together yet. But I guess the Atlanta result kind of shows what difficult times they're in. It's a really, I don't know, I think it's a really weird one for me because I still don't really know where Everton are because they've only played the difficult teams. They have got this new squad. It's difficult for me to judge. I don't think it's as simple as we make out, and that they're getting turned over by big teams. They're not a big team. Like the game didn't really show that they were beaten 4-0 by Manchester United. Like on the score, and obviously it was that, but it was a flattering result. Like United scored 3 goals in the last 7 minutes, so it's I don't know.
Yeah, we go back to the Man. Sorry, go on.
No, I'll continue.
I was just going to say, we go back to the Man City game, and they got a good point there. It looked good. They started the season reasonably well. And they started that game really quickly, got quite an early goal. In these games, they just roll over. There doesn't seem to be any sort of tactical changes from Koeman. And I know you mentioned earlier, but we weren't going to bring it up because none of us really agree that Koeman's job is under pressure. But he is I looked at the odds. He's currently the second favourite manager to next get the sack. And I think that says something. I think these games they really needed to get something to show like they were pushing for those top 6 places. And although none of us think, well, I don't know about you, Elias, but I don't think any of us think his job is under pressure. It does make you wonder if there's going to be any sort of snap decisions from the board, considering the money they've spent and the little they're getting from the little returns they're getting.
I mean, it wouldn't be you have to say the trend of this season is like we go back to the De Boer sacking. He spent money, tried to change the style of play. He wasn't given much time. He's gone.
Well, we're going to come to that later.
Yeah, of course. But I know, I know it's the Championship, but Birmingham spent a lot of money. Redknapp's had 3 games with that team, and he's been sacked. Like it wouldn't be an unusual thing for a manager to try and change a team and then to be not given much time with it.
I think the difference with those examples you've given there is Koeman has this sort of this aura around him that he's the next young big manager, and he's been linked with like Barcelona jobs, and he hasn't really done anything at manager level yet. So I think it's a bit of his reputation as a player coming through. So I think that he's going to get more time just because of that factor. But I think you're right. I think if it was perhaps any other manager, he may be in trouble now.
I think football is all about results, of course, and Everton's next 3 games in the Premier League are Bournemouth at home, Burnley at home, and Brighton away. So that's 3 games you really gotta get 9 points out of. And if he doesn't get that, then I think his job is going to be under pressure. But right now, I think he's safe.
Yeah.
Completely agree. I think the board will recognise that the start of the season has been difficult, and they've got 1 point from maybe last season. They'd looked at these games and gone, "Well, if we get a point or 2 out of this, they've been all right." And you can't really expect more from a squad that's sort of been put together no longer than a month ago.
No, I agree. A team that isn't struggling with problems is the winner of this game, Manchester United. Pretty much said all we need to say. They've conceded a couple of really good chances the opposition hasn't put away. De Gea's brilliant. They're scoring lots of goals. I think that the next big team Man United are going to come up against is going to be the interesting fixture from their point of view, and whether Mourinho can wangle his way out of it. But I don't think they play a good team for actually quite a while. So they got Liverpool away in October, and I think that'll be the first game where their team are really tested. So we're going to see in that game, I think, what United are really made of, basically. But they're looking good at the start of the season. Do either of you want to add anything particularly about them, or have we pretty much said everything we need to say at this point?
Pretty much done. The only thing I will say is Mourinho's getting a lot out of Fellaini, which is a huge. He's been a huge asset to United so far. No, like a huge additional asset on top of their starting lineup. So.
Oh, the injury to Pogba. I believe he got injured in the Champions League. Was it? Yeah, he'll be a big miss, obviously. So we'll see if that affects him anyway. But like you say, Fellaini coming in do a really good job for them. We'll cover the rest of the Champions League teams. Chelsea, we'll talk about a 0-0 draw with Arsenal. who are not a Champions League team this season.
Boring.
Lest we forget, boring. I wanted particularly to talk about Arsenal's lineup. Didn't play the likes of Ozil and Alexis.
But boring.
But the point I'm trying to make is they're setting up like an away side. Wenger didn't set up so naively like he did against Liverpool. He picked the players who were going to do a job, track back, and work for him. And I don't even think Ozil came on. I can't really remember, but is this a sign that Wenger is perhaps not as naive as he was with his squad, and he realises he had to make these changes? And I mean, he's never really been a reactive manager, but perhaps this is a change in his philosophies. Maybe I don't know what you guys think of that.
Maybe it's just getting old and just changing.
He's been getting old a while.
Yeah. Just feeling like, well, he might just have a few years still at Arsenal. Maybe this is his last year. Maybe next year is his last year, and he really wants to convince like he can still be a proper football manager. And I'm just like, I don't know about Arsene Wenger. I've never been a fan, and I just don't know about his managerial style at all. And he's just so unpredictable. Well, he's predictable in the unpredictable. It's so hard to pinpoint him.
You got anything to add, Michael? Or?
No, I think I don't really know. It's like it's a tough thing to comment on. I think maybe picking the players, like you said, to do the job was exactly what he wanted to do in terms of. I don't think it's in terms of to prove to people about his managerial like prowess. I think it's more to just sort of take the pressure off them after difficult results. Just sort of look, we can get a point against these big teams, but we're pushing towards something different. Maybe I don't know. It's
Oh no, I meant he picked the players to actually get the point. Like
yeah, that's what I mean. Is in like we can pick these players to get a point against the big teams, but like Elias said, it was a boring game. Like maybe we're working towards using our higher profile players to sort of play like the Arsenal of old football kind of thing.
That's what I thought was like weird. Sorry, but because he likes to play interesting football. He likes to hold the ball and try and play his way out of situations. And to not pick your most creative players in that situation is just what I said. It's just boring, really, and that's not the Arsene Wenger style, I think.
But he picked those players against Liverpool, and they let him down, for lack of a better word.
Exactly, and that's why I think it's more of a look. Take the pressure off myself a little bit on whatever. Look, we can go out against Chelsea, which is a team that's hit form, and get these results. Like it's a boring game, and but like you said, it's an away team. I kind of understand that. It's look, if we can be consistent away from home and not drop many points, and maybe turn our home form around and pick the creative players, etc., etc. So that's my view on it. Really, that's like where I think he's coming from with it.
But it's a really good point though for him. Like it's a really good point for Arsenal away to Chelsea, and I think he's done really well in his selection and the way he's set up. I mean, Koscielny was back. Maybe it was to do with that. I can't remember if he played against Bournemouth. But again, as well, no real holding midfielder. But let's move over to Chelsea. What do we think of Chelsea in this game? Because they did create chances, but obviously not enough to get that all important winner. What do you think, Elias?
Horrible passing throughout the game. Couldn't hold the ball for most of the game. Couldn't string like 5 passes together. I'll still keep being critical of Cahill, how he's playing after Christensen is doing such a good job when he's getting on the pitch and just distributing the ball, and that's why I just don't see why Cahill is still a part of this team. Other than that, like I don't know really. It's just bad football. We don't really. We of course we create like chances, but in this game particularly, we couldn't hold the ball, and that's a bit worrying.
What about the fact Hazard didn't start? Was you surprised by that, or?
No, I wasn't surprised by it, because Conte has said plenty of times that he needs time to get back to 100%, and when he came on, he didn't look fully fit either. He tried to do a few things, but he needs to get his bit of pace back, and he tried a few shots, and one shot particularly where he shot just beside Czech's head, and he somehow catches it. I really don't know how that happened, but
stepping up his game against his old club. obviously. Check.
Yeah, definitely.
I still remember last season when Hazard absolutely ripped Arsenal to pieces
Mm-hmm.
with that goal he scored. Absolutely unbelievable. Oh. From a 0-0 in London then to a 0-0 in London, Spurs.
Wow.
Yeah, they drew 0-0.
How many shots?
I think
26.
26, 75% possession, and
Yep,
2 penalties that
absolutely.
weren't given.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
see,
here
I
we
had
go.
to go. I knew you were gonna say it.
No, but
you
they were-
you can't just leave it that we couldn't score against Swansea. It's like the referee did not allow us to score.
No, I was getting to those points. I've been very critical of Spurs and their lack of pace on the wings. With obviously Rose injured, Aurier coming on later in the game, not starting. When he did come on, he caused problems and was actually one of the reasons we should have had a penalty. Yeah, I think, like you say, we did waste a lot of chances. Kane had a really good chance. He hit the bar. But Spurs really, finding it hard to score against a goalkeeper who doesn't just let shots in at his near post like they did against Dortmund. Fabianski was, didn't just stand still, which I think Spurs found difficult.
Well, I think you need to bring back your only true goal scorer who scored for Fenerbahce. This.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Vincent Janssen, what a guy.
Yes.
Speaking of ex-Spurs strikers, Clinton and G scored 2. I don't know if you saw the tweet I sent you.
Isn't he
Currently
like
third
third?
in the
Yeah.
league and top scoring standings. Fantastic. Hopefully there's a buyback clause there. Goodness me.
You see, we're trying to get away from this game because.
Yeah, I knew you were just. Oh, let's not talk about Spurs drawing. I'll tell you what, Phil. I'll turn it around for you. I think we should give a lot of credit to Swansea for how well they defended.
No, I agree.
I think I don't like. Obviously, Spurs wasted chances a lot, but Swansea really did limit Spurs and just they defended so well as a pack. They really were like a really well drilled defense.
No, I agree.
Like individuals and like a team, like everyone was. It was good. It was really quite. It's for a defensive performance. It was all right to watch.
I mean, they limited Kane to that really good chance. Obviously, the 2 penalties that should have been given. We'll move away from them. They did limit Spurs to only long shots, really. I believe it was Trippier, Kane had a couple, and Eriksen and Vertonghen and quite a few long shots came in. Swansea didn't really create much, but again, teams are going to come to Wembley. And expect to, play really well and get something out of the game, and yeah.
I thought Tammy Abraham was actually really good. While he didn't really do anything as of particularly like threatening. Sorry, he held up the ball really well and bought that Swansea defence a lot of time to sort of have a breather or to sort of reshape. So he was a big part of that draw performance.
He is having a really good start to the season. It looks like a really mature for his age striker.
Yeah,
I didn't realise how tall he was either. He's fantastic in the air.
He's so strong as well for quite a skinny person. He
doesn't particularly look well built, but yeah. No, it was a really mature performance. There was the right word to use. It was a very tactical and smart performance.
Wilfried Boney came on for his return to Swansea. I don't know if you saw his initiation ceremony thing. He had to sing a song, as many players do. He sang his famous Wilfried Boney score some goals for Swansea chant, which is always nice. I always like hearing that, especially when he sings it. It brings something nice to my ears. Where's the number 2 shirt, of course? I was wondering if either of you had, if you were to sign for a club, Michael Birmingham, obviously, and Elias Chelsea. What would your initiation song be?
Oh, you've put me on the spot a bit there.
I mean, I didn't. I gave you plenty of time to prepare for this one.
Did you?
Well, he's doing football.
We'll go to Chelsea.
Right.
We'll go to Elias.
wasn't
Because
here.
Elias is definitely prepared.
I was probably going to pick some ABBA song, just because of the Swedish pride and something like that.
Beautiful.
And because...
Big in England,
most
of
people-
course, as well.
yeah.
Everyone would join in.
Yeah, all the
Any-
Beatles.
Any particular ABBA song? Any football-based ABBA songs?
Football-based ABBA
Yeah.
songs.
You could do
So-
Waterloo, but change it to Stamford Bridge, I suppose.
What? How would you do that?
It's 3
Please tell us.
syllables. It's 3 syllables.
Please tell us.
I'm not going to tell you.
What? Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, exactly. Literally that. Well, I'm going to have to edit that now, aren't I? Right. Michael, you've had time to speak. Think, not speak. Think. Blue dabba dee dabba die because you because you signed for the Blues. I don't even know what that's. What's that song called?
I'm blue, dabba dee
Blue.
Yeah.
It's just called
Wait,
Blue.
I 460.
Or you could do the Harry Redknapp just got sacked song that I
No, I
made for you on
definitely
Twitter.
do the. Oh, it's not really a song that I definitely do the. What is his name now? Oh my god, my mind's just stopped working. Oh my god, what's the Villa and Spurs ex-manager called?
Oh, Tim Sherwood.
Sherwood, yeah. Because I do the Tony Christie reenactment of
Is this the way to
Tim
Amarillo?
Sherwood song.
Right.
Yeah, because two reasons. One, because it's disrespecting Tim Sherwood, former Village manager, and that is one of my favourite chants. And second of all, because Tony Christie lives about 3 minutes away from my house, so
Brilliant.
it's kind of
So you could get them both involved.
It's really fitting. Yeah, well, not Tim Sherwood, because I don't think Tim Sherwood would sing "Tim Sherwood Touches Kids," but
I don't know. I reckon if you paid him enough, he's just happy to be like, on the
he's just
telly.
happy to be here. It's just
Yeah.
he turns up in his gilet, sings about himself being sexy.
Fantastic, lovely.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little insight to the guys there for you for your listeners. Wow, fantastic. How did we get
You
onto
have to-
that?
Loads of people have to Google that because no one will have any idea what I'm talking
Well, that's what I
about.
was hoping for an
A
example.
reenactment, okay.
Yeah, reenact. Well, maybe not actually.
Sha
'cause
la
we've already
la
had
la
the-
la
no.
la la, etc. etc.
Oh,
Tim
see, if
Sherwood
you'd said this
touches
before, I
kids.
could have gone sha la 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 bar, played for Watford against Man City, and that would have been a fantastic little thing.
How would you
How would I what?
move on?
Yeah, I'm moving on. I'm moving on.
Culture
I'm moving on to Liverpool. So many draws this weekend, apparently. Liverpool drew 1-0 with Burnley. Wow, Liverpool's defence.
Every week, we can't do it. We can't do it. Next week, we have to put our ban on ourselves talking about Liverpool's defence. And I know we're football analysts in the
I mean, not
the
professionally.
lightest of terms, but
We give it a go.
we can't do it every week because it just
But
seems
Scott
like
Arfield's goal was funny.
yeah.
I think Alexander Arnold, Matip, and Clavin all could have won a header, and none of them jumped. And it was literally first and seconds. It was first and seconds on the edge of their own box at Premier League level. And it was a fantastic finish from Arfield.
Yeah.
To be fair to him, it was really good. And another great finish for Salah, who scored an absolutely fantastic goal. We've criticised his, his clinicalness, but that goal was absolutely fantastic. Coutinho with his first start of the season as well, for Liverpool. And this game really could have ended with Burnley coming away with all 3 points after, I think it was Matip and Clavin again getting in each other's way and giving away a pointless corner. Ben Mee with a fantastic header at the back post. Again, Liverpool conceding headers at corners. Matip actually did brilliantly to block it on the line. It was a brilliant save from the next corner after that. Another Mee header by Mignolet. And really good, well, not defending, but moments of defending from Liverpool there. I mean, we've spoke about Liverpool's defence, like you say, Michael. Spoke about their attack. It's fantastic. Didn't seem to... I mean, they obviously did miss Mane because they didn't get all 3 points, but they still created a lot of chances.
Yeah.
Burnley, though, resilient. They've proven this against Chelsea and Spurs, but getting away points there and another big away point at Liverpool. What do you think? I mean, could Burnley push right up into that top half of the table this season? Because they've got some fantastic, points under their belt already this season, having a pretty tough run in on paper.
Yeah, I mean they're like a typical Sean Dyche solid outfit. Really, they're just a really solid, hard to beat team, and they will grind out these results against bigger teams that can't just can't roll them over really. And I think it further highlights Liverpool's problem that the mentality of we'll outscore oppositions with our amazing attack. When you can't do that, you are going to sort of drop points in these games. And against teams like Burnley, who will think their team is just full of players that will sort of grind out a result. It really is sort of just I don't know, average players that work well in an outfit. No disrespect, so they can definitely overachieve on paper, I think.
Sean Dyche really got on cooking up good stuff there. Metaphorically, of course, they're not actually making meth or anything.
It's kind of like Birmingham when they had Scott Dan, Roger Johnson, Liam Ridgewell and Stephen Carr.
I thought you were going to make a good.
No,
like,
it is though.
comparison.
Birmingham like went
Down.
Yeah,
I was going to compare it to a Sam Allardyce Bolton side. Or something like that, where they were like top half.
Some Allardyce Bolton side, just get on. I'm fed up with you.
Okay, well, basically we've covered all the Champions League teams now. I'll try to speak about their opponents more, really. I want to have a little 5-minute discussion here of who we think is going to go furthest in the Champions League out of the English sides. I mean, I'll just go straight to you, Elias. You tell me who you think is going to go furthest in one word answer, please. We'll discuss it a bit more.
Imagine if the team has 2 words in it.
You've done me there. Fair play. Have as many words as you want. Have as many words as you want.
As many words as I want. Oh, that
Take
makes
all
it
the
a bit
words.
more interesting.
Take them to the
All
bank.
the words. Okay. Well,
Start with aardvark. It's at the start
Yeah.
of the dictionary. It's a classic banter.
it's just about who has the easiest group, I think, and who's gonna get the best seed. Because in the Champions League, there are no easy games. Cliche. I think United probably. United or Chelsea. I think Chelsea will get 2nd seed in their group, and United will get 1st seed. So one of those teams, and I think City will just crumble as they
harsh.
as they haven't done in Europe. I don't know what point I was going to make there, but yeah, I don't think they. I think they're going to run away with the league, but they're not going to go as far as Europe.
But Michael, did you want to make a point before I try and derail Elias's?
I think if they get out of groups, I think Spurs will.
Wow.
I really do. And I'm not even going to give reasons. We'll just see.
I had a reason for Spurs.
You'll see. Is it because of sort of how the? Is it because of how the bracket will work if they get out of group?
I mean, if they come second, they'll face someone who finished first.
Well done, thank
That's
you.
not an English team, so
Yeah.
that limits them if all English teams finish first. But no one mentioned Liverpool.
What a surprise!
Okay, well they drew at home with Sevilla. But they, on those big nights at Anfield, they do have big history with this competition. So, and I want to say to Spurs, they adopted a completely new tactic against Dortmund, where they just sat back and hit Dortmund on the break, whereas they're usually a possession-based side. So that Pochettino tactical prowess may deliver them some good results. But I actually think Man City will probably go furthest, just because of the depth of their squad, Guardiola's history in this competition, and they just have some arrogance and swagger that I think is going to carry them quite far.
Swagger.
Yeah. I don't think any English team will win it. I think I could see City in a semi-final though.
I was gonna say like the point of the depth in their squad is like the range in their squad is like teams come from different leagues and whatever that have probably a lot of players that experience Champions League at different clubs, like at different levels, kind of thing. I like City in the Champions League. I think they've got a deep squad, so that's going to help a lot, obviously. The fact that you got Leroy Sané and Bernardo Silva just sort of sat on your bench ready to come on is just obviously the Champions League they played Silva, but yeah,
it's bare good. It's bare good for City. Definitely looking a team to beat in the Premier League, at least. Anyway, all right, we'll talk about other draws because there were loads of draws this weekend. Huddersfield won, Leicester won. Deportra, I believe is how you pronounce it, but Deportra. Looked absolutely fantastic for Huddersfield. I think Munier was dropped for this game, and he really looked a handful. And his goal was absolutely brilliant, getting away from Harry Maguire, I think, who isn't a slow coach, but he used his strength and really, put a good finish in. It was a really big threat for Huddersfield, and perhaps there's more strength in depth there than we initially thought, guys.
Yeah,
I think it's pronounced Deportra, by the way, but
well, I did ask.
Yeah, I just like the look of Huddersfield and Leicester for that regard as well. So 2 teams that will probably compete, but like just around the mid-table, a bit higher up maybe for Leicester's case. But yeah, I'd really like to watch both the teams at the start of the season, and Huddersfield are looking more sharper than I would have expected. Going into the season.
I don't know if you saw before the game. Well, not before the game. Tom Ince lined up against Kasper Schmeichel and there was a video going around on Twitter of them in the Old Trafford corridor playing football against each other. Of course, Dad's Paul Ince and Kasper Schmeichel, of course, played. Not Kasper Schmeichel, Peter Schmeichel. That's it. Playing, of course, for United together. So that was a rather nice. Would have been nice if Tom Ince had scored against him, but hey, we can't have it all, I suppose. Vardy missing a really good chance late on, and Huddersfield, I believe, had a goal disallowed, rightly or wrongly. It's really tight offside decision. So this game really could have swung either way. West Brom and West Ham played out another 0-0 draw for this weekend. All the goals just seem to be, buried in the Manchester United game and the Man City game. But yeah, this marks Gareth Barry's 632nd appearance. What a servant he's been to the game. What do you think of Gareth Barry's career? We'll talk about that before we talk about the game, because that's the obvious thing to do. Played a lot of games, played for clubs such as Man City and Everton, has won a few trophies at Man City. Yeah, what have you guys thought to his career, and do you think he's underrated or overrated or perfectly rated as a player?
Perfectly rated, I think.
Yeah.
It's not like a player that he doesn't really make mistakes, and he doesn't really make any super good decisions either. He's just there and does the job. Really.
It sounds weird, but he's had the perfect DM's career. He's just always sort of played in these teams where he's Gareth Barry is a good fit. Even the City, when you think not City of today, Gareth Barry would be nowhere near the City of today, but the City of 2010, Gareth Barry was perfect then. He just has a typical DM's career. It's kind of boring, but he's just kept going and been consistent. Gareth Barry has turned up.
It makes you wonder if he could have had a more prominent career for the England team. Because England obviously screaming out for that sort of... Or maybe he wasn't really a defensive midfielder. Maybe he was more of a deep line playmaker sort of player back in his better years. So maybe he had them in abundance. They were all rubbish, really. This was actually Andy Carroll's 100th game, to put it into perspective, and he's been around a long time, and to only play 100 games for a player of his ability just shows you the extent of his injury problems. Elias, I wanted to come to you quickly because Mikel Antonio had a pretty good game, and obviously he has that pace and power that you were talking about. Were you impressed with his performance today, or did anything brighten your ideas of West Ham?
I just like the fact that Antonio and Andy Carroll is back. I think Andy Carroll and Chicharito can get together sometime and score a few goals, but it'll take some time. For them to actually find a partnership that really works.
And then by the time they find it, he'll get injured.
Probably,
one
yes.
of them's going to get injured. Let's be honest.
Ben Foster could have gone. There was a bit of debate about him possibly getting a red card. Did you see the challenge at all?
I did not.
Oh,
I did.
You did see it?
I can't...
He sort of comes flying out his box and just sort of tries to slide.
Oh, yeah. Nah, come on.
I think it's one of those ones, if it's an outfield player, he probably gets a red card.
Maybe, yeah, but it's he has to... Thing is, the way the box works is he has to kind of come flying into the tackle to get there because of how far back he has to start.
But doesn't that make it a dangerous challenge and out of control?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it was... I think a yellow was kind of the right decision. But
it's a tough one.
It is. It's because it's a keeper. It really is because it's a keeper. There's no expectancy for him to be able to perform a perfectly well orchestrated tackle. It's he has no use of his legs. So we'll let him off.
Completely mental.
Yeah,
I've never seen him as a sweeper keeper. I don't think he is one after this show, but yeah, that was
he's a little bit tapped. He's Ben Foster will just be completely normal, and then will just suddenly just charge down the pitch or something like that. He's an outrageous guy.
He reminds me of Neil Sullivan. He's a reliable keeper, but he's got a mistake in him. Well, he hasn't got a mistake in him. There's a mistake every game, at least.
No,
for some reason he sticks around. I'm surprised he's not even in the Championship at this point.
That's rude.
Oh, I mean, he could be playing for someone like Birmingham. He's literally Scott Carson's equal. He is Scott Carson's equal, but Scott Carson
we have David Stockdale, which is kind of
Can we have like
a not quite player?
Well, perhaps Brighton could have done with David Stockdale. I know you wanted to make a point, Elias, but I wanted to try the transition. I messed it up, so I'm just going to go to your point.
Yeah, and I want to keep the podcast to a level where we don't mention like Birmingham like 10 times every segment.
I didn't even mention it then.
I know that it was Phil that brought it up this time, but I felt like we've just snuck it in every single point we made today.
Yeah.
But it should have been the first time, Elias. That should have been the first time I brought it up.
Okay. I
So what's the problem already there?
But I am allowed to bring Birmingham up at the start of the podcast when you ask me how my weekend's been.
Well, you could just say I had a lovely weekend.
I made a relevant point about Harry Redknapp sacking. Probably mentioned it another time. That was probably irrelevant, and Phil brought that one up. So I believe that it's a case dismissed.
Mine was a dig, not a reference.
What, you still reference them?
Yeah, but
even if you do it like...
Elias is jealous no one talks about AIK.
Oh, he could have gone to the Swedish division.
Well, we could have. They won 4-0.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking... Oh. Yeah, that could have played against you. Saved some goals. Right, to Bournemouth-Brighton then, because Stockdale used to play for Brighton, and I messed up the link. Bournemouth, first win of the season! And goodness me, didn't Jordan Ibe look good after coming off the bench. Oh, yep. 2 fabulous assists. First one particularly, lovely back heel. Lovely back heel. What did you guys think of Bournemouth getting their first win? Exciting. What do you think?
Are you putting the words in my mouth?
I'm putting them in your mouth, shoving them in, spit them out.
Alright, yeah, exciting. Yeah, that's I don't know. I just think that Bournemouth need to get Jermaine Defoe, as I've been saying, like this whole start of the season, that they need to get Jermaine Defoe scoring. They need to get Joshua King scoring. But if they have somebody like Jordan Ibe coming in and just absolutely just destroying that left wing, then yeah, they can definitely do it. They can definitely stay up.
Yeah, it was 2 lovely assists.
Pretty much hit the nail on the head for me. I mean, it was their big money transfer. Yeah, big
50 million.
Couple of seasons ago, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like if he can get the assist, and he can get Jermaine Defoe scoring, it's Elias is perfectly right. That's their squad pretty much.
Lovely finish from Defoe.
They have a really well experienced team together, like back four, etc. So just getting those two to be the, how would you put it, Phil? Something about attacking or creative juices, you'd say. So I think
chemistry.
No, definitely something
chemistry,
to do with
cohesion.
Juice. There we go. All that, yeah, that's what we'll go for.
The cohesive juices of the striking partnership.
There it is.
Am I going to have a catchphrase? Am I going to have a T-shirt with Phil's juices written on it when we get?
Oh my
juice?
No, you know.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.
Goodness me. Yeah, Defoe's first goal back it's his first Premier League goal for Bournemouth. Of course, played there before. On a loan spell from West Ham. Good to see him back. And now, I thought Brighton played quite well, but now Bournemouth have got that first win on the under their belts. We can now talk about Eddie Howe as the next England manager again. So that's good.
Oh.
back to that subject.
We can bring that back up. A couple more games to speak of. Newcastle 2, Stoke 1. Mama Biram Diouf signed for Manchester United in 2009. I wonder if he thought at that time that in 2017 he'd be playing right wing back for Stoke City. It's a question I think he probably should have asked himself. And he was at fault for Atsu's first goal. A really nice goal. A goal-atsu, if you will.
Oh no!
That one was good. I like it.
It was a lovely cross from Sadio Mane tribute act Matt Ritchie, and stuck in at the back post. He just got behind Diouf. I've never seen Diouf particularly as a if they're limited in those positions. Then sure. A lovely goal from a brilliantly inconsistent or inconsistently brilliant Shaqiri, depending on what way you look at it. Did you see his goal? I mean, Elias, I know you're quite a big fan of Shaqiri, and you must have been delighted to see this one go in.
Well, yeah, it used to be when it was somewhat consistent, scoring like brilliant goals for both Switzerland and Bayern Munich. Such a hard player to see. Like, you definitely see the quality in him. You just don't know when it's gonna happen, and that's why he's not at a bigger club than Stoke City. Sorry, Stoke City fans. But yeah, if he was as consistent as he as he's been. Like he had 1 year at Bayern Munich where he was just scoring goals for fun and just scoring long shots after long shot for the national team. And if he kept going like that, he could have been the new Arjen Robben, definitely for Bayern Munich. But he's just so inconsistent.
It was the second Newcastle game in a row where Lascelles has scored a winning header. Definitely making a name in the Premier League, and I think the word's going around he's a very nice guy as well, so always nice to hear. We're going to end on the Palace Southampton as the last game, so we want to talk about De Boer a little bit. Finished 1-0 to Southampton. Palace had so many chances. You're starting to think there's a curse on them at this point, because some of the chances they didn't put away. Well, I mean, we'll just go straight to it. The punching chance, which was somehow didn't end up in the net. You've got a feel for Palace fans at this point. The fact that they still haven't scored and they're still pointless at the bottom of the league.
Yeah, definitely feel for the fans. Not sure if I feel for the team, since they're professional footballers, and that's just horrible. The horrible quality of the finishing is, and the defending is not much better at all. So definitely feel for the fans. Don't really feel for the team or the manager, since I'm not a massive Roy Hodgson fan.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel a bit for Roy Hodgson. He's obviously invested a team that's in the middle of an identity crisis. We'll talk about him in a minute. Let's quickly talk about Southampton. Got this win. Still worried for him though. Still not really. I mean, you would say Palace actually had the better chances in this game. So I mean, you've got to really worry for Southampton's, where they're going to start making these chances. Because you look at their team, maybe Redmond, but he didn't particularly have a good game. There's not really any sort of good player that can pick a lock or create a chance out of nothing. You do wonder if they're going to. I think Elias, you mentioned Ward-Prowse as that sort of player, but this seems almost stuck in the mud at the moment going forward.
They brought in Mario Lemina from Juventus, who he had a really good game against Palace.
Man of the match, he was.
Yeah, but he's not that creative midfielder. He's more a box to box. Probably could score some goals if he's getting the chances. But yeah, James Ward-Prowse, they need to really try and enable him and just use him as much as they can, since he's their youth product that's come through, one of many. And yeah, one of the best right foots in England when he's got his day.
Right, we'll talk about the main topic I want to talk about this game is the De Boer versus Hodgson. Go on, sorry.
No, I just wanted to mention that I correctly predicted the future once again.
Oh wow, I knew this.
That was all.
I thought you were going to say Nathan Redmond. He played for Birmingham.
No,
right.
Right, that was him again. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, so the main point of this was De Boer versus Hodgson. I wanted to quickly throw some points out about De Boer and his sacking, because we haven't actually spoken about it since it's happened. Are we all in agreement that it's harsh or not really?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say it's harsh. If you don't score a goal for 4 games and you don't look like you're playing positive football at a team that wants to create an image, bringing in this high-profile manager, try and create something, signing these players, and just completely messes it up for trying to bring in his own style immediately. It's not gonna work, and I don't know. I just don't know about De Boer as a manager right now.
Should he have ever been there in the first place, really?
I think that's harsh. I think he should be. He could have, I mean, he's qualified to be a Crystal Palace manager. Whether he went about it the right way is like you say, Elias, is completely up for debate. But I just want to say he signed 2 players in the transfer window: Loftus-Cheek and is it Rijderveld, the defender. You look at the team he played and or that played against Southampton. He was playing with Jeffrey Schlupp at left back. It's not a team that fills you with confidence. Loftus-Cheek had a really good game, but this is his first Premier League, chance in they're playing regularly. So they played very well, not really experienced in that role. And Wilfried Zaha injured as well. If you're trying to play a creative style under De Boer and you don't allow him to buy any players, and then he's stuck with a team that was playing under a long ball merchant in Big Sam, no offence, but of a direct style of football. Like, what do they expect to happen? Like, they have no creative players in that team. All right, they have Townsend, who doesn't really create. He just sort of cuts in and shoots all the time. I mean, Punchin's probably been punching above his weight now for a couple of seasons, in my opinion. Not even a purposeful pun. But I think to hire a manager with that philosophy to try and change, and then not back him with players, shows just a huge inadequacy at the board level at Crystal Palace. And I like Roy Hodgson, and I think he'll probably keep them up personally. But it's hard to see, if he's going to be able to even buy players to help him stay up and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I've lost my point. I'm just really angry about him getting sacked, to be honest. Michael, you're gonna make a point because I'm losing my way here.
No, like I said, it wasn't a surprising sacking when I predicted it last week. It wasn't like I got out my crystal ball to see it happening.
Yeah, but that's not because it happened. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. That's because of what you were hearing in the back, behind the curtain and stuff, not because of the results. If you see what I mean. Because Bournemouth have 4 games without a win, and Howell wasn't under pressure.
I agree. And like you said, that they have a really very confused squad. Like it really isn't like we talk about Burnley. Like essentially, Palace have to create their own identity as to what their team is. Burnley are very well, sort of very solid outfit. Bournemouth, like all similar level teams, Bournemouth are got a couple of sort of signature players, and then a really well experienced, played together for a long time, defensive outfit with a young manager. Palace have that really confused. They've got a team of players that sort of, were solid, but then a team that like a couple of creative players, a couple of fast players, a couple of players that have been brought in. Very little time spent playing together as a solid starting 11, things like that. And then a manager that's been told to play this style of football or brought in to play this style of football, which the squad probably isn't capable of. So it is just like a really confused football club. And it's like, you have to pick a direction to go and stick with it. You can't just chop it. And Roy Hodgson's the complete opposite direction of De Boer.
Yeah, that's it. They've just gone back to the original manager.
It's
which
what
apparently Steve Parish actually got in contact with Sam Allardyce to bring him back. And
yeah,
Sam
exactly.
Said no.
I was literally about to say, you may as well have just called up Big Sam and say, we'll give you an extra $1 million if you keep us up at the end of the season.
It's just
that is literally what they've done in getting Roy Hodgson in. It's just it's really like awful management. Obviously at a high level, not from the managers, but like awful directorship of the football club.
Yeah. I'd also like
to
refresh my thing. When I said I think Roy Hodgson will keep Palace up, I'm not gonna go. I'm not going 100% on that opinion just yet. I'll wind that back in. Because they've got a lot of tough games coming up, and it's how they react after those tough games that will, I think we'll see how they will get on. So
yeah, isn't it City, United, Chelsea?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
are they going to score in any of those?
I mean, did they play? Did you say Liverpool?
No, Chelsea, United, City.
Talk about Liverpool shaming.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, these games always, there's always a weird game.
To be fair, they always, that's the bogey team. It's Liverpool's bogey team. I understand, Phil.
No, I'm talking about that. There's always a weird game where just, there's a reason no one wins accumulators all the time. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I see your point.
Okay. So yeah, after that, we're going to move on to our new section of shocks of the week from around Europe. There weren't any shocks, so it's a great time to bring that in. So we're going to completely skip that. But that'll be here next week, guys. Don't worry. We're going to give you some European...
Well, looking forward to that.
Yeah, look forward to that. The shock around Europe really is the Clinton and Jean news. And the Vincent Janssen news.
Oh my.
So we'll move straight on to our MVP and villains of the week. Our most villainous person. So 2 MVPs, really, when you think about it like that. We'll start on the negative with the villain of the week. Because, we want to end on a high. So we'll end on the MVP. So villain of the week, we'll go to Michael first.
I think it's kind of an obvious one. I've gone for Wayne Rooney.
Okay.
Especially with, like, he'd obviously been the hero in going back to Everton at the start of the season. United fans still respected him and whatever.
as well as missing a couple of big chances, I think as you said, there were big chances. I don't think he particularly missed them, but not having the greatest of games against his old club, I think they should put that to a team performance. But really, sort of putting a dampener over his season in his drink driving charge, which will it affect his football? Maybe because he has to do community hours, etc. I'm having him as my villain. I couldn't really think of a person that's had a worse week rather than just mentioning Crystal Palace or Liverpool. So I'm going for Wayne Rooney.
Okay. What about you, Elias?
Well, I'm going to go along the same route, but I'm going to say the whole of Everton.
Oh, come on! Oh, come on!
Yeah.
That's not acceptable. I tried to say 4 Huddersfield players and pretty much got sacked off the podcast.
Yes, we got a very funny video out of that. So.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It was worth.
Yeah, no, I'm the villain. I'm going to say Everton. It's still one, yeah. Just
so
Everton.
you've said. So Michael said a player from Everton. Elias said Everton. So I just say Merseyside, and we'll just complete the set.
Yes.
Well, can I explain? Can I
Yeah,
explain
of course,
my point? Yeah. So the reason I point out the whole of Everton, the Everton side, is they did exactly what you can't do when you play against a top side. You let if you're to be considered a top side in the Premier League, you can't let another top side beat you 4-0, especially not letting 3 goals in 7 minutes at the end of the game. That's just basically giving up, and to just do that is just horrible. It's horrible to watch.
It's a good point because that literally puts them on an even kill with Swansea and West Ham.
Yeah, exactly. And they want to be considered a bigger team than they actually are. So they just need to get the image together and get their players together.
Nice. My villain of the week is Mike Dean for not giving 2 penalties against Swansea.
What, massive Spurs fan?
If we... this is not acceptable.
No, it wasn't. They were 2 shocking decisions. And that was the one that rang true for me.
I feel that if we are not allowed to mention Birmingham on the podcast much more, we're not allowed to mention how Spurs were hard done by during the week either.
But I'm criticising the referee and performance, not particularly Spurs.
We can't criticise Mike Dean, the massive Spurs fan, for not giving 2 penalties for Spurs. And I want you guys that are listening to let us know what you think of the penalty decisions at our Twitter. And what's our Twitter?
At In The Mixer Show.
See, at least you have to do your job for you. You've got that deluded.
Yeah.
Wow, we're a team, guys. Come on. You're not my guests. You're co-hosts. Come on.
Oh,
I told you that at the start of the show.
Yeah.
Okay, MVP of the week. Let's end on a high. I'm going to go first. I'm going to go with Arsene Wenger because I thought he set up his team really well and got a really good point at Stamford Bridge. And I'm done. Go, Elias.
Sergio Aguero for his brilliant hat-trick against Watford.
That's why I didn't say Aguero, because I knew you were going to say it.
Oh.
I'm going to be long and say I've got 2.
Oh my.
I've got
Is
one.
it the whole Man United team?
I've got
Is
one
it
that
Birmingham
slipped through the
City?
net a bit, and it's Rafa
That was
Benitez. Obviously, Newcastle sat proudly in 5th, I think, are they? 4th, 5th, 4th.
And of course, coming back from his operation as well.
Yeah, Newcastle had a really good start and are beating teams that they should be beating, not by really extravagant scorelines, but they're winning the games they should be winning. I think that's a very Rafa style, and it's really positive for Newcastle and the fans. Second one is Federico Fernandez from Swansea. Not to just get another one over on Phil about the result against Spurs, but I thought individually he was the standout performer in that back 4. I genuinely think he probably had the game of his career. I thought he was unbelievable.
Lovely. What a way to end the podcast. With me praising Arsene Wenger, who would have thought it, and Michael tipping Newcastle for the title. Unbelievable. What a way to end.
I would love it.
I would love it if we beat them. Love it. I was listening to something about that the other day. Yeah. Pointless saying that. Right, we're going to end, because we always drag out the endings, and we probably should just end with a calming recorder-based... No, we're not going to... No, don't put it down. Ellis, put it down.
Train whistle.
Oh my! No. I'll edit that out. Headphone users. That's okay. Thank you very much for listening to the In The Mixer podcast. You can get in touch with us at In The Mixer Show, as previously mentioned, on Twitter, or inthemixerpodcast@gmail.com on the email. If you want to ask us any questions, we would very much appreciate it. And we'll read them out on air, even though I've forgotten to the last 2 times. Apologies, Matt K. Prince. I will see you later, and we'll say goodbye from Michael and Elias as well.
Goodbye.
Hasta la vista. Vitsa. I can't even do that, right? Oh my.
Lovely. So, see you later, guys. Appreciate you listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.